Hey, what's up, everyone? We are live on playback. Hope you all are doing well. Thanks so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Hope things are going well on this Sunday. It's a bit gloomy in Chicago today, but we're making do with everything. So it's nice to be able to know that obviously being inside isn't the worst thing in the world. So that's what we're gonna try to go with today. And again, thanks so much for tuning in. Greatly appreciate all of you guys and greatly appreciate all of your support. This is Zinger Part 2. And again, thanks so much for tuning in. Wouldn't be possible without all of you guys and all of what you guys do to support me as well as the network and everybody else involved with it. So I'm excited to get into some things today. Should be a fun stream, about 30 or so minutes, talking about everything that we didn't get to on Bando's Blitz and or Bando's Breakdowns. We'll do some shameless plugs. We will recap what occurred in college football yesterday. We will go over how I did on predictions yesterday, both on the Novik side and on the FP5 side as well. So please be sure to stay tuned for those because you won't want to miss those. It's a fun stream. It's an exciting stream and excited to get to work on this with you guys here today. A new edition of Zanzinger Part 2. All right. Before we get started, um, with anything though, just wanted to give you guys a quick reminder and a quick note that this stream um as well as everything that I do across this network is presented by both this platform, playback.tv, as well as Novik, which Novik is our sports prediction market that we're going to be getting into a little bit as well. So with that being said, we will get started with that. But before we do that as well, wanted to give a few quick plugs before we get started. Episode 64 just released the other day. That was an exciting episode as well. Talked about a lot of stuff around the world of sports, discussed college football, discussed the NFL, discussed some news and notes surrounding combat sports, and we also took a look at some other things as well, just kind of around the sports landscape, both on the news end, the sports media end. There was a bunch of stuff to go over as well this week. It was a fun week of content. It was a fun episode. All the clips should now be live on playback, which is very exciting. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what all of this brings as we get closer and closer to Halloween, as well as some other major events as well. Um, but with that said, though, let's get started with everything. Um, Sorry, it's a little bit challenging this morning. Oh, it's because. Oh, okay. Nevertheless, though, let's get started with everything off the top. Nevertheless, though, let's get started with everything off the top. That's a little bit better. I was not able to fully hear myself. Now I can. I don't know what was going on there with the audio quality, but hopefully you guys can hear me a little bit better now. I don't know what the holdup was with that. But nevertheless, though, let's get started. Let's start, though, with a quick word and a quick message from our friends over at Novig, because without Novig, we would not be able to bring you guys the best odds that we possibly can on every single stream that we do. But so without further ado, let's go through that as I'm getting my ducks in a row on my other window here. It's running slower than usual. Um, but nevertheless, though, let's get started with that. There we go. It's working now as it's supposed to. Okay, there we go. Anyway, without further ado, let's get all the particulars out of the way. Starting with Novik. So here we go. By the way, if you haven't gotten on Novik yet, I will teach you guys how to do that in just a couple of seconds. So here we go. So Zanzinger Part 2 is powered by Novik. America's number one sports prediction market, available right now in 35 states, including California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and New York. I know that you're 10 times more likely to win long term compared to a traditional sports book because you're playing against real users and not just the house. Sign up today and use the promo code ETB Network, that is ETBNETWORK, for exclusive bonuses. So, with that being said, let's get into everything. Let's start, though, with the week that was college football because there was a lot going on in the world of college football. 17 of the 18 Big Ten programs played. The only one that didn't play yesterday was Illinois. Illinois is on a bye week. They go to Washington. Washington fell to Michigan on the road in Ann Arbor yesterday, 24-7. Let's go over the scores and a quick rebuttal of what I thought of some of the games yesterday and on Friday. Let's take a look at it here. Here we go. So let's take a look in and around the Big Ten. Notre Dame wins by 10, 34-24 over USC. USC now has its second loss of the season. Those are now losses to Illinois as well as Notre Dame. So Notre Dame wins, keeps its very slim college football playoff hopes alive. USC will more than likely have to win out, and who knows, 10-2 may not even be enough. The dream is still alive for UCLA. UCLA has won 3 games in a row. Last second field goal over Maryland, 20-17. Huge game for the Big Ten next week against Indiana in Bloomington. If UCLA somehow upsets Indiana, the number 3 team in the country will more than likely move to number 2 following Miami's loss to Louisville Friday night. Things could get very interesting. And Penn State continues to free fall. That's 4 losses in a row. Iowa wins the game 25-24. A late comeback from Mark Gronowski and company did the Hawkeyes in there. One of my no big plays of the week was Oregon to cover 17.5 against Rutgers. It did just that, 56-10. Ohio State will remain the number 1 team in the nation, winning 34-0 over Wisconsin. That's back-to-back shutout losses for the Badgers. If you remember this past week, they were shut out by Iowa. That was 37 to nothing over the Badgers there for Iowa. Indiana, I like the over in this game, and we took it. The over hit 38-17 over Michigan State. Michigan State is going nowhere at this present moment in time. What other Big Ten games were there that were interesting? Let's see. Northwestern shut out Purdue. Northwestern now 1 win away from bowl eligibility for the first time in 2 years. It can get it as soon as this weekend with a win against Nebraska, but Northwestern with a shutout win, first time against Purdue since 1956. And then, of course, Minnesota upsets Nebraska. Nebraska was number 25. Nebraska more than likely will now be unranked, which is good news for Illinois because Illinois was technically number 26. So Illinois going into this Washington game should be ranked. Should be ranked again. Um, should be ranked again going into the Washington game next week. Then finally, to go over a few other scores as well. What else do we have? Ohio State, Wisconsin. Oh yeah, I think that's all of them. But yeah, 17 of the 18 Big Ten teams played. Again, Illinois, the only one with a bye week this week. Speaking of no big, we hit on all 3 of our college plays yesterday. Ohio State covered against Wisconsin. That was 25.5. We took the over in the Oregon um, Rutgers game. Or no, excuse me. We took the over in the Indiana Michigan State game, And then we had Oregon covering 17.5 against Rutgers. So we are 3-0 on college plays for the weekend, which improves our overall record for the Bandos Blitz season to 11-10. So there's your early teaser there as well. So that is exciting stuff there. But yeah, 11-10 overall on the college front. Let's see how we did on Yahoo Sports. By the way, on ESPN straight up yesterday, I went 9-1. So shout out to me for going 9-1 there. Let's look at college football though, because I think I did pretty decent. I don't think the standings were exactly right. Let's take a look. I was 10-15 yesterday, but some of these were not calculated right. Oh, right. Okay, I see why now. All right. So, yeah, I went 10-15. Some of the notable wins: Oklahoma, UCF, Northwestern, Georgia, Houston, USM. Um, yeah, not the best. I thought Tennessee could cover against Alabama. It was looking good for a little bit, and then they couldn't cover late. I was screwed on Iowa because Iowa didn't win by more than 3. Little disappointing there. They only won by 1 point. I don't know. But yeah, there were a couple that I got screwed over. But overall, though, a solid week in college football. Was pretty happy with how things kind of played out there on that front. But on Novik, which is the most important thing, we went 3-0 on the 3 main college picks that we had. So looking to do the same next week in week number 9. But nonetheless, though, that's a bit of a college roundup. We were going to briefly preview Illinois, Washington, but to me, there just still isn't enough info. We don't even know what time the game is yet. So there's not as many particulars as I had hoped. So let's move on from that. Let's talk about UFC Vancouver now. So UFC Vancouver was last night from Rogers Arena. It was the worst night of UFC predictions for me of the whole year. And I know I said that a couple weeks ago, but this takes the cake. 3-10 overall was my record on the card. We didn't even hit the main event. Ranier Ritter quit before the 5th round against Brendan Allen, the late replacement for Anthony Hernandez. So very disappointing stuff there. Um, yeah, 3-10 though, man. Tough pill to swallow. Not great. That means I only have 245 wins for the year. I'm 245 and 180 now, so a bit of a rough card. Still 7 cards to go, so we'll see how the next 7 or so. Well, there's 8. Well, there's 7 weeks of UFC over the next 8 or so weeks. Let's say that. So it's going to be interesting to see how I bounce back from this. But it was the worst UFC event of the year. Let's go over some of the results because some of the results were interesting, and I know a lot more people did better than I did. Um, some people did really well. Some people got 8. Some people got 10. Some people did really well on this. I was in the 6,000 range, which is unfortunate. It was a really bad card for me. Not good. Not a good card at all. Um, oh, okay. Nonetheless, though, let's go over some of these results because we should. And by the way, we didn't talk about this, but on PFL Africa yesterday, or PFL Rwanda is what they were calling it, I did pretty well. I went 7-3-1 on that card. So, um, yeah. So Brendan Allen won. In the main event, Mike Malott took care of business by decision, although it wasn't without controversy. Ayman Sahabi defeated Marlon Vera by split decision. Um, it was a good fight though. Let's see, Manon Farrow defeated Jasmine Jazz Davicius by knockout. Um, let's see. Um, Charles Jourdain defeated Davy Grant. That was a fun fight. Kyle Nelson was screwed out of a first round TKO against Matt Favola, but he was able to win the decision anyway. Drew Dober defeated Kyle Propolek. This was the main event of the prelims. That was by TKO. That was a dominant third round win for him. Looked really good in that fight. Arichi Long won by knockout. Bruno Silva won by submission over Han Sung Park. Jordan Santos defeated Danny Barlow. That's a pretty big upset. Danny Barlow was one of the bigger favorites on the card, if not the biggest. Stephanie Luciano won by submission. Belgori won over Bukoyev, which a lot of people were picking Bukoyev. I was one of them as well, so that was a little bit disappointing. And then, of course, Melissa Cronin started the night off strong with a knockout in round 3 against Tinero Lisboa. So, not the well, it was a fun card in terms of finishes, but predictions wise, this was a show to forget. That's for damn sure. Hopefully, UFC 321 is a little bit better. Um, let's see. Nevertheless, though, was not the greatest card in the world. But what I can tell you is, if you like entertainment and if you like exciting finishes, this was the card for you. And it was an early start too. And get used to these early starts because we're going to have at least 3 more of them, the next 3 shows. We have UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi. That's a 2 p.m. Eastern main card start for the Tom Aspinall Cyril Gane heavyweight title fight alongside the Mackenzie Dern Verna Jandiroba co-main event. So get used to that. And then we'll more than likely have an early start for the Apex shows November 1st and November 8th before going back to a regular schedule in terms of start times for the Madison Square Garden card on November 15th. So, decent show for the UFC last night, but not a good showing in terms of predictions. Speaking of predictions, let's see how we're doing in the NFL. So far, we've lost the Thursday night game. So, with that said, let's take a look at how we're doing now. Um, Uh, so my lock of the week on Football Forecast, which aired yesterday, was the LA Rams, and so far they're making me look good. 21-0 early third quarter against the Jaguars. That's the NFL international game this week. And then as a quick reminder, the 3 survivor plays that we had for Blitz this week were the Bears over the Saints, the Chiefs over the Raiders, and of course, the Seahawks over the Texans. Let's go over the rest of them, though. I like Miami over Cleveland because if I had to pick a side, I just think Miami is slightly better. I don't think the Browns are very good. Neither team is very good. I just think Miami needs to win at some point, so we're picking them. I like New England over Tennessee. This was another consideration that I had for lock of the week as well. Kansas City over the Raiders, the Eagles over the Vikings. I like the Jets to earn their first win of the year against Carolina this week. Denver over the Giants. The Colts over the Chargers. Commanders over Cowboys, Green Bay over Arizona, San Francisco over Atlanta, Detroit over Tampa Bay, and that rounds out the rest of my survivor picks. Now let's go over who I'm picking against the spread and the over-unders. This is courtesy of Football Forecast, so let's go over that now. Let's see here. Here we go. Forecast. All right. So week 7, we like the Rams as our lock. It looks like that's going to win. And I was the only one to lock the Rams this week, so I'm looking like a genius early with that. The Bears in the Bears game. I like the Bears to cover the 4.5. I like the under in the Dolphins Browns game. I like the Chiefs. I like the Eagles. I like the over in the Panthers Jets game. I like the Patriots over the Titans. I like the Broncos. And then I like totals in the next two. I like a total in the um, or excuse me, no, I'm looking at the wrong column. I like the Colts over the Chargers, the Packers over the Cardinals, the Commanders over the Cowboys, 49ers over the Falcons, and then I like the over in one of two Monday night games. That is the Detroit Tampa Bay game, and then I like the Seahawks in the other Monday night game. And speaking of, I'm going to tell you how I'm doing on Football Forecast so far this season. I'm leading the competition going into this week, 51-42 overall through the first 6 weeks of the year. That's good enough based on our rule set for 112 points. I had a winning week last week, meaning that I had the best record overall amongst the entire group for the first time this whole year, which means I got 4 points added to my total, which is why I have a significant lead over everybody else at the moment. I've hit 3 locks through week 6. There's a chance I could be hitting my 4th lock of the year. We were 3-3 in the lock category going into this week. And speaking of, if you guys have never watched Football Forecast before, you should. That is youtube.com/EDP Network where you can find that. But, very important for those of you who may be unaware of what a lock is, I'll explain. So, you can pick any team you want, but what it means is it's double or nothing. So, once you pick it, it's locked in. You can't change it. That's rule number 1. And rule number 2, they have to win by the spread indicated when we pick when we do the show. So when we pick the games and someone says, "Oh, we're locking this team," that means they better win by X number of points. Otherwise, even if they don't win by that number of points, you lose the pick. So right now, as it stands, the Rams are up 21-0, which is great because the spread was only 2.5 on Novik. So as long as the Jaguars don't frantically come back in the second half, our lock this week is looking like it's a surefire winner going away in the first game. So I'm excited about that, and it's looking like the only person that may the only two people that may be burned by this so far are Nick DiMartino and Tom Albano, but that remains to be seen as we are still early in the second half of that international contest. So, that being said, though, that's really going to do it for Zain Zinger. It's a little bit of a shorter episode this week. Let's go over some other news and notes, just some programming coming up that you all should be aware of. NBA streams on here are going to start to pick up in full force with NBA opening night next week. So there's going to be some changes to that with Football Forecast. You may not see a few particulars um, on what do you call it, on the program next week. So just something to bear in mind there as well. So just something to be aware of as you if you guys like Football Forecast and you like some of the characters on the show. Just be wary. Oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to change my light. There we go. Just be worried that you may see some changes on next week's episode as well. And I'm going to start doing this more often. I don't really do this all that often, but I have to show you the new gift I got. This is courtesy of one of my friends. He went to the Blackhawks um, home opener and got me this Centennial puck. Thank you. You know who you are too. But I figured I would show off these more often as I get some cool sports keepsake things every once in a while, so I figured I would just mention that as well. But yeah, I don't know why I just did that. But nonetheless, though, just something to bear in mind there. Just be wary that next week Football Forecast may look a little different. So for those of you who are used to, some of the usual suspects, you may not see them. I will be there. I will be there. That's for sure. But as far as a few other people, that remains to be seen. But it should still be a fun episode. So there's Football Forecast next week, Banders Breakdowns episode 65, ETB episode 292. There's probably some other stuff. Oh yeah, MMA Outsiders will be back Tuesday. Um, it'll be Tuesday this week, and then Thursday we're gonna go a little bit later. We had a bit of a scheduling conflict um, with another show, so we're gonna be going a little bit later next Thursday with that. So stay tuned for that. That'll be 4:30 Eastern for Thursday, and then on Tuesday it'll be the usual time of 3 p.m. Eastern. So Tuesday we're gonna recap UFC Vancouver. We'll talk about some news in particulars as well. And then of course on Thursday we will preview UFC 321 and so much more. So excited to go through all that stuff with my co-host Jack Gold. Should be looking forward to that as well. So outsiders on here. Then of course later on today we will have NFL Red Zone beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern where a bunch of us will watch Red Zone. I may pop in for a bit. I have some stuff I have to do today, work wise after this, but nonetheless, though it should be a fun time with the whole group and so much more. So it should be a blast. All right, and then a few other reminders as well. Banders Breakdowns episode 65 drops this coming week. Should be a good episode with a kind of a teaser, a little bit of a surprise in there, if you will. It should be a fun time though. That'll be on Wednesday, as per usual. Bando's Blitz will drop this week again. We will have this again as well, which we're gonna have a lot more to talk about on the next edition of this. For sure, there's almost no question about that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what's to come with the remainder of the month as we get closer and closer to Halloween. And with that being said, that'll do it. So my name is Zain Banda, the host of Zain Zinger Part 2, the host of Banda's Breakdowns, the co-host of ETP Sports, and of course, the co-host of Football Forecast, Forever Power 5. And on here, the MMA Outsiders on playback with myself and Jack Gold. So for everybody here at ETB Network, I'm Zain Banda. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one, and we will see you guys next week. Cheers.